off week episode of Power to the Ground. You might notice that Jesse is not here. He is out. I think he's doing some school or something like that. But so I don't just stumble through all by myself. I brought our buddy Tiller in. He's the one that will be running Tiller's tallies once we get everything all sorted out. So take a minute, say hi. Try not to beat him up too bad, but you might recognize him from Couch Cross. He's pretty good with the old numbers. So we're gonna try to go over some stats today. Go over some 2021. I guess the season in all, kind of go over a bunch of stuff. Don't forget to hit up power2theground.com. Jesse's worked pretty hard revamping it all. So you've been on it, right, Tiller? What do you think?
Oh, I'm digging it, especially the homepage right when you pop in. Got that sweet video, the race video on there. And when he first changed that the other day, and I looked at it, I just pulled up the website and started staring at it and forgot what I was doing.
Oh yeah, that's it'll definitely catch your eye. Also, don't forget to stop over at the shop and get you a Do It for Dale shirt. I was gonna throw one on, but I was running around folding up little kids' clothes before I jumped on here, so I didn't have time to run up and grab it. And I'm sitting pretty far away from my camera, so I don't know if you would actually be able to read it, but I will wear it to the track this weekend. So jump on over there. I wasn't 100% certain if he was using the code still, so I did take it off. I'm sure Jesse will let us know if he is, but so just be awesome and get yourself one because they are pretty sweet. Also, for all you Facebook and YouTube video viewers, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We have the I don't know. We put a lot of time and effort into this. It might not seem like it because it does get a little bit weird at times and we don't really know where we're going, but it's, what do you want with a live show with a bunch of goons like us? You know what I mean? So
Good stuff.
Yeah, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to share also. We do it just out of the passion of the sport. So the more people that we can get out there and kind of touch, the better it feels for us. So we do appreciate everyone that does that. We should probably run down some sponsors real quick too. Let's do BROTACO Hot Sauce. That stuff's good. I use it so much. We need to talk Sean into making gallon jugs. I think we should all just get gallon jugs of, especially the brap sauce.
I would invest all day.
Right? I would too. I'm buying 3 or 4 at a time, and it'll last me like a month, 5-6 weeks, maybe. I use it on everything. It's absolutely great. Jump on over to www.brotacofoods.com and don't forget to use the code PTTG for 20%. Sean, that's another labor of love. A lot like us over here. He's sitting over there trying to make the best hot sauce for everybody. It's awesome. So stop on in, say hi to Sean. He was on the Couch Cross this past weekend. So he's definitely a friend of the show. Show him a little bit of love. And also jump over to sunstar-breaking.com. There's a support email on there under the rider. Use just say PTTG sent you, Jesse sent you, Doug sent you, Tiller sent you. I don't care. Something to do with PTTG, and I'll try to hook you up as best I can. They're the number one OE sprocket company pretty much in the world right now, and they definitely take that right into the aftermarket sector. So it's I run their stuff on everything that I have. I keep trying to talk everybody else into doing it. It's nice. Yeah. So it's other than that, what are you thinking of the 21 season so far?
Oh man, it's been really exciting. I think everybody had different kind of thoughts about what it could be going into it, but it's been something different every week. There's been downsides. There's track and something like that. That everybody talks about, but I've been enjoying the season so far, watching the different winners. One of the things we'll talk about that I wanted to talk about was just the number of riders we had in the top five. Everybody was talking about deep field. 2021. It's been a pretty deep field. Even the number of guys in the top five, the number of guys in the top 10, all season long, they're swapping in and out. I've not been disappointed.
Yeah, it's definitely been it's been a pretty good season. I can't say that I'm overly disappointed. I do know that I make fun of it quite a bit and call it start cross or like slot cross or but that's definitely not a knock on like the riders of the season. I'm definitely I'm hoping that what we were reading earlier in the day about Tomac kind of talking about the tracks and how they need to get a little bit more technical and a little bit more fun. I definitely think that we need to see that going forward, but it's we'll see. It's so far from what I've heard is there's definitely an evolution in Supercross tracks that is on the horizon. How far off the horizon is, it's hard to say, but we might be seeing some more stuff, especially if the bike technology keeps going up, but yet the tracks are pretty much staying the same over the course of a decade. Like something has to change,
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think especially when you consider the bike technology, there's something. Obviously, the bike technology is never going to stall, but maybe we get to a point where the outright speed isn't there. Maybe the power is more controllable, and that's more of in a steady spot. So then that allows them to really start experimenting with the tracks and stuff. I was looking earlier today at and maybe we end up talking about it, is the Atlanta tracks versus the Daytona, because everybody's like, oh, Atlanta's going to be more like Daytona. And I remember the track maps, and I just don't, I'm not on the Atlanta, like being like Daytona train at all. I was looking at the Atlanta track. There's so many long lanes, so many different things that it looks like they could end up trying as far as rhythm sections there, instead of having to worry about doing a repetitive thing. I hope they take advantage of that opportunity and try out a lot of cool different rhythm lanes like they had at Arlington 3.
Yeah, that's I mean, they have a fresh map with Atlanta coming up. So let's definitely let's hope that they bring something crazy, I think they kind of outdid themselves with Daytona on the NASCAR tracks. So it definitely set the bar high this year. So I think it'll definitely be interesting kind of seeing it go forward.
Yeah, I'm definitely pumped to see what they can do there. And then, like you were saying, I hope to see that they can come up with something good in the future. Either the bikes are going to get a lot better, a lot faster, and they're going to be forced to do something with the tracks, or, that they're going to have time to really get creative with the tracks as the bikes just kind of work themselves out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you already have the Yamaha, who you can't really add any power to, because otherwise then it's too powerful, especially the 450, the 250, they got those things dialed. So not too much concern there, but that 450, that's a killer, man. That's a powerful bike coming from the factory, and the pro guys are like, it's too much, like we have to tone it back. Let's just run a stock motor. I'm sure they're running a better map than the old EPA lean map that it comes from the factory with, but they don't do a lot of work like power adding and stuff like that. They do, some weight stuff and some other fancy factory racing stuff that they tend to do. But overall, I don't see it as them changing too much, But it's other than that, I definitely, something has to change. We need to get some communications going so that guys can know what's going on out there. We need a little bit more racy tracks, I guess is what I would call it. Like we were saying, bring back Dragon's backs. Let's do 2 whoops. Nobody needs to go through and double, do a 90-degree, double, 90-degree, throw some whoops in there. Let's make it fun. It's, we're not building tracks on Supercross 3 or something like that. So
Absolutely.
It'll it'll be it'll be fun to watch it go forward. You know, like I said, I'm definitely hoping that we get to see an evolution in tracks in our time. You know, and that's there's an interesting one. Let me see if I can figure out how to do this. Do you think shock programs keep the smaller teams out of the hunt more than the motors? I do not. Um, Not necessarily. It's so the motors from the factory, except for the Yamaha, are all really close. I can't say one is better than the others outside of the Yamaha. Um, Now, when you're talking forks and shocks, yeah, there's a huge difference between the manufacturers. But a lot of these guys, they don't even ride it on the stock stuff. It goes straight to the suspension shop. You know, it's they're running full built stuff that they've had dialed for years because a lot of these guys are running the same bikes year after year. It might just be a model newer. It does get expensive though. I can definitely see that. Now outdoors, you're going to see your motor is going to make a lot more difference than your suspension package does, as opposed to Supercross, which I think is mostly suspension and not as much motor. So that's you're the KTM guy, man. What do you think about that?
Man, I don't know. I think I was, as you were talking through that, I was thinking about it and thinking, there's so many guys now that are getting into races pretty much with a basically stock engine, minus maybe a map. And even then, kind of like one of the stock available maps plus an exhaust, but then they're definitely upgrading the suspension. So I think maybe more than the motor, it could, but then also suspension stuff is getting so much more readily available with, you know, the technology is just getting better and better. There's still a gap between what the privateer guys can afford and what the factory teams are running. But I think what the privateer guys can get is getting much better. Is getting more refined over time. These guys are learning more about air shocks or some of the other ones, and they're figuring out what the pros and cons are, and they're figuring out sooner. No, I'm an air shock guy. No, I'm a conventional guy, and all the different shops out there can tune them. You can send it to like Race Tech, and that's already miles above stock, just because it's tuned for you. And then you've got the shop guy above that, like maybe if you can afford to get Enzo to do it, maybe he does a super special something over Race Tech for you. So that's one thing, and it's not. I don't know. I'll be honest. I never really fully understood what the intricacies of like a kit versus some of the other stuff versus the factory were. I know there were those levels, but I think it's getting close enough. And then I don't know. I'm always on the train of two. Also, these guys are kind of like head cases for the most part, and I think the factory stuff is more of a perceived benefit than an actual. As much of a, it's a bigger perceived benefit than it is an actual benefit for some guys.
Yeah, there's definitely a thing as too much options.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, to answer your question, it, I would have to say outdoors is going to mostly be motor. You're going to spend a lot more money on your motor to go race outdoors because you figure these guys are fourth, fifth gear pinned out quite a lot, like literally chasing each other down. Whereas Supercross it's definitely suspension driven, flow driven, technical. And a lot of these guys are running, they've probably never ran a stock suspension bike in their lives. If
Mm-hmm.
you look at some of the stuff that the kids are running now with like you said, the A kit, you have Bonsai, you have Enzo, there's so much out there. Like we could go on and on about just the different suspension brands that guys are running right now. So it definitely gets very expensive. Well, as Grant knows, he's my brother, so he sees me spending money left and right over suspension stuff over motor stuff, So that's I could definitely see that. But yeah, it's right now this time of year though, I would probably say no. I think they're definitely spending more um on good quality suspension than anybody's spending on motors. But
yeah, I've always been, yeah. And if I sounded biased, it's because I've always been a suspension. Put money into suspension before you put money into your motor. That's just the way I've always been.
yeah, so it's I don't know if your question is too long right now to fit. I don't know if you guys can read that, but the biggest premise is what's the biggest difference between a privateer and a factory guy in terms of like training, practice, stuff like that. And I would definitely have to say that it's a lot. That it's a lot. So the factory guys, they have their own camps, they have their own trainers, they have Alden Baker. If you're one of Roger DeCoster's guys, you know, I mean, he's one of the greatest fitness experts in the sport, and he only works with those guys. That is definitely a huge advantage. Some guys do great with it, like Cooper Webb, and some guys hate it, like Jason Anderson. So it's definitely, but as far as practice time, a lot of these guys can afford to go out and buy like El Chupacabra Ranch or Bamland or, you know, the Goat Farm, stuff like that, where they're going out there and they have grade A tracks almost every day and they're out riding for hours and hours a day, where your average privateer might have to work at a dealership, you know, like J Mart did. You know, so it's it's when I worked at the dealership back in my hometown, we had a kid that worked there that used to race all the outdoor nationals. You know, he would work Monday through Thursday, gone on Friday to go catch the national race, and then he'd be back on Monday to work. You know, so it's, I mean, it's definitely, there's a night and day difference between trying to scrape by to chase your dream and you are living your dream. There's a huge difference. But it's I mean, that's another one where we could get into almost all night. But I think almost going back to bikes, you know, that actually that would be a pretty good segment, you know, with what is what we were going to come on here and talk about, you know, which was some of the stats, some of the 21 overlooked stuff, you know. What about what about like Barsha, Mookie, Plessinger? These are all guys that have been ringing the bell all year. And everyone's like, they're getting so much better, or Barsha's so much better now that he's not on the Yamaha bike. What do your stats say, Tiller?
Oh man, well, this all over the place. Let's see, who do we want to look at first? Let's look at Barsha, since he was the one. He's one of the biggest ones. You know, he switched brands.
Yeah.
So big point is right now we're 12 rounds in. Last year the switch happened at round 10, 11 through 17 were the ones all in Salt Lake. First time we had the new format back to back to back. Everything else was traditional before that. So some of it's going to be kind of a 0 to 10 to comparison. Some of it's going to be up to now. Last year, Barsha on from round 1 through 10, his average finish was 4.3. This year, round 1 through 10, 6.3.
What?
Yeah, it's a little off because he had the round, you know, where he had the little collision with Freezy. That put him back. So you drop that round, he's got a 4.9 average finish.
So he's still there.
Yeah,
kind of. You know,
yeah,
fourth to fifth. Yeah, that, I mean, that's not a huge swing. So
yeah, but 0 through 10 or rounds through 10 last year, you know, the 4.3, his average finish at the end of the series 7.5.
Oh,
yeah. So Salt Lake, like we all thought, you know, didn't do bad there. He had an 8.89, 21st, 9.9, 20th.
Oh,
you know, so he was getting worse with the 8.89s, but
yeah,
his 21s and 20th didn't help him. But he's only had 2 finishes outside of the top 10 this season, and only 3 outside of the top 5. No, 4 outside of the top 5. He had a 9, 13th, 19th, and a 6th. The rest of them has all been better than 5th.
That's crazy though. I definitely feel like he's getting at least more TV time this year, and I wonder if maybe it is because he did switch brands. You know, he's got that little bad boy attitude thing going, that Gas definitely tried to play up. So I wonder if it's people just trying to like they kind of take notice of that. You know what I mean? So I
Mhm.
wonder if it's definitely affecting some of his TV time. Um,
Oh, for
but
sure. I'm sure you know, it's kind of what they try to do, right? They try to he might have just been one of the stories that they were like, hey, this is definitely the story we want to follow this year, regardless. You know, granted, if he would have fell off to the back, maybe they would have followed it and kind of not gonna shame him, but you know, really point out and be like, oh man, maybe he would have been better if he would have stayed on Yamaha with the star change like Mookie and Plessinger. Um,
yeah,
you know, it's definitely a way to do it. But I think, like you said, I think they knew they were like, hey, this is definitely one we want to follow this year because no matter what happens, it's going to be there's ways we can play it. He's either got better, it didn't matter, Barsha's Barsha, no matter what bike he's on, or you know, or this whole change was just worse. They're just gonna play it however it works.
yeah. It was well. It was also kind of sudden. Like I don't think a lot of people knew it was going to happen. You know, it's I wouldn't say he talked super highly of the bike, but he never really talked too bad about it either. You know,
Right.
so it'll be interesting to see going forward. It's a hybrid between a Husqvarna and a KTM, so it probably doesn't handle like either one of them, you know, but it's probably close to both, but not quite. So they still have a little bit to dial in to go, but I don't know. I think he might be kicking himself though, especially seeing Plessinger and Mookie. It seems like they're sitting right around the top five all the time. Like
Oh
it's
yeah, for
crazy.
sure. Yeah, that's
it's
just one of those things we'll never know because it is a relatively, as far as these bikes go, it's a different bike. You know, um,
yeah,
it may not be. I'd say like maybe if he was doing really well on the air shock and then on this frame and they were still running conventional and on that frame, then maybe it'd be like, okay, yeah, this is about as close to night and day as you can get between like two different bikes. But
yeah,
now it's just like, you know, who knows? You know, maybe Barsha can just ride everything fairly well.
yeah. There's something to be said about that too. I mean, you see some guys that'll a bike change will be absolutely detrimental to them, or you know, from zero to hero. Um, I would attempt to put Webb in that right now, but the whole team has changed so much since he left that I think it would definitely be hard to kind of switch that out, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Let's see. So, and now we're gonna look at Mookie. We'll save AP for next. Malcolm. Obviously, everybody feels like he's doing better. Wow, that I did this. I almost wonder, is that right?
I don't know. You're the stat guy, man. I can't tell if it's right or not. There's just
Yeah.
numbers to me.
Yeah, no, I looked at this earlier. I looked at it earlier and it didn't quite catch me and I wanted to make sure I was using the right numbers. Holy cow. I'm gonna have to double check this later to make sure I've not lost my mind. Mookie's average finish through round 10 this year, 7.8. Same things last year. Exact same thing. Average was 7.8 last year for through round
I
10.
I can see that. I definitely I don't know if I could see it the exact same, but I could see maybe like a 6 to 8, you know, like a two position swing. Because I remember picking them in almost every time Rocky Mountain Fantasy had the like the wild card for like eighth or ninth place.
Yeah.
Mookie was my guy. So
Yeah, it's definitely so this year, just glancing at the numbers, I have to put it in the line chart to really look at it. It looks like he's had a few more really good rounds and two slightly worse rounds. Where last year his finishes were a bit more clumped together, whereas you know the kind of 9, 8, 10 ish range. Whereas this year he's had you know a 5 and a 4, and then he's had an 11 and 10 also. So it's been a little bit more varied, but exact same average, exact same points from now to now. But then you know where we're going to be able to tell the differences. Um, what's he going to be able to do in Salt Lake? Because Salt Lake he got hurt, or it hurt his results with an 11, a 22nd. Other than that, 7.5, 5.7, and a 4. He had pretty good results. Granted, Salt Lake City 7 was kind of a interesting race.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be kind of interesting to see how he does out there to change that. But yeah, even through round 12, same. Yeah, he's actually his average is the same. He hasn't had as many good rides as he's had this year, but it's actually the same. So that's
That's
kind of
interesting.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. Not what I would have expected based on, again, like how they've been playing up Mookie, or at least how I think maybe even the TV's not been talking about him as much as some of the communities just like happy about Mookie, because over the offseason there was a while where he didn't have a ride. He was testing. We were talking about, is he riding? What year Kawasaki is that he's riding? And then he was on
Yeah.
KTM for a while, and then all of a sudden he signed up with Star Yamaha, and it is what it is. So I'm curious to see how he can hold it through for these next ones, if he can still be consistent. He's had to, A1 and A2 weren't that hot for him, but also when you try to square up Jason Anderson and end up on the concrete, then you're not going to finish the race too well. So we'll see. I hope something just interestingly enough for him comes together to where he ends up trying outdoors on the Yamaha. I don't know, just to see something different. I don't think he
I
will. I think he'll want to go
yeah.
fishing, but
I don't think we will ever see that.
yeah,
But
if there was a year, it'd be fun to see it this year. Let's see. Then Plessinger through round 10 last year, 10.5 was his average finish, and he's got a 7.9 is his average finish this year. He's actually got
that's not bad at all.
same amount of points as Mookie does right now. Or no, he's a little bit more. 183 through round 10. They had the same amount of points through round 10. He's just ahead of Mookie in the championship standings right now.
Huh. Yeah, I don't completely know all the stats like that, but I definitely can understand if he's doing better. He looks a lot better to me. I mean, he's got a couple heat wins. He's got a couple different real hard charges. I mean, he kept up with Tomac there for a couple laps, and then it's I'll be happy to get to outdoors. I think Aaron definitely does better outdoors. So we'll see. Just hope he keeps on the upward swing, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, his average stayed about the same last year. I think he's definitely on a good trajectory. He's had 16th and 11th, 3.9s. Kind of it is what it is for him. But his ups are much higher, this year than it was last year. So I think that's the good thing.
He's got heat wins and a main podium. That is amazing. So, what more can you want from a guy that everybody's been hounding him about losing a ride on Yamaha? Yamaha's crazy for signing him, blah, 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 and then he comes out this year just swinging. So, it's definitely fun. It's, I don't know. What other interesting stats do we have that we can go over? We still have some time, man.
Yeah. So, out of the 12 rounds we've got so far, how many different guys do you think we've had in the top 5?
How many different guys in the top 5? $11.
13.
13.
Yeah. And it was up until Orlando 1 or 2 where we had 12 different guys in the top 5. Because Chase Sexton was was the most recent one that got added in, and then after that, it's pretty much stated out about who's in the top 5 or who is going to be in the top 5. We haven't really added any more, but I think 12 different guys in the top 5 is pretty. I think everybody deep field this year was like, oh yeah, it's not going to be that deep. We probably all expected the same 6, 7 guys to be in the top 5. To have 12, 13 different guys in the top 5 is pretty exciting. I mean, Ferrandis and Brayton are the only ones with one appearance in the top 5. So even then, 11 different guys in the top 5s. I don't know. It's pretty exciting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you figure Ferrandis is having little flashes in the pan.
Mm-hmm.
I think I might have expected more out of him, but at the same time, I try not to get the hype train moving too fast whenever we have a guy come straight from 250s up to 450s. So I don't know. I did kind of expect a little bit more out of him, but I'm not disappointed that he's doing the way he is, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think he's shown some crazy speeds so far this year, but I think I would have expected more of a consistent, I don't know, 10 through 5 position from him and not end up on the ground. But this ending up on the ground and then those flashes of speed to make a wreck, make a ridiculous amount of passes, and then come back and still in a decent speed is just not what I expected. It's awesome. I hate that he's on the ground, but it's great that he's showing he's at least fast on the bike.
Yeah, he just needs to nail down the consistency. That's like AC this year too. I had moderate hopes for AC, and at the same time, I didn't want to get too excited, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't, man. But it's he's the same way. Shows great speed, and then it falls apart, and then he'll show great speed again. Like both of their abilities to bounce back after something happening to them that would normally really mess up another rider, I really enjoy, but at the same time it gives me almost too much hope, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And then looking at top 5s, also we've got up until Orlando 1. Roxon was the only guy that was in every top 5, and then Orlando 1 was there. That one, which one did he not make it in? Arlington 1 was the one where he didn't make it in the top 5. He was in every top 5 up until Arlington 1. And that's when Daytona Arlington 1 was when we really started being like, okay, Roxon may not have this in the bag like we thought he did. Cooper was slowly climbing back up. Now they're both sitting at 211s, or they're both had been in the top 5, 11 out of the 12 rounds. And this is part of the reason why stats are really interesting to me, and especially this year and the previous years before, because so far before, all these like championship predicting things were in a series where we had guys that won everything, or won year after year after year. And This is the first time where we could potentially have 5 different winners in 5 years in a very long time. And so the whole, oh yeah, first guy to 3, first guy to 4, I don't know, we've had 2 guys in the top 5 11 times, and we still don't know who's going to win.
Yeah, it's definitely it's going to be a consistency wins the championship year, I think. And if you're outside of the top 5 from here on out, just finishing like week to week, I think you're signed, sealed, and delivered. You're not getting it,
Yeah, for sure.
So it's definitely making it interesting, especially when you break it down that way. And I'm not gonna lie, I was definitely on the he won 3, first to 3, 75% chance or whatever it is wins.
Yeah.
And then K-Rocked, man. So it's tough to see being a Roxon fan, but I also like Webb. I mean, the dude is an absolute savage, and the way he's been subtly, I can't say that word, but it's a great, great radio, man. You can't even say the words right, but it's to watch him just kind of mess with Roxon throughout the year, just small little like tweaks here or tweaks there, or I'm going to say this thing on this show or put this in this magazine, and it really gets to him. And I wonder if Roxon wanted it too bad, where Cooper's just trusting himself to get there. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's a thing, but I know usually when I want something really bad, I'll screw it up and I won't get it. So that's maybe that's what Roxon's doing and Cooper's just helping him.
Oh yeah, I think there's something, to that for sure. At least maybe even the fact that this is, Kenny's maybe trying something new this year with the whole, how are a lot of people putting it, like the Zen thing, where he's trying to be like a little bit more chill, like try to be chill. He's got some aggressiveness, as far as what he took off in the off season to kind of ramp back up with his training. Like really start attacking again, but also at the same time be chill. Maybe that's a new thing for him, and he hasn't really mastered the whole stay and chill when Cooper Webb pushes me to the outside in the first turn type thing. And Cooper Webb's still like, nah, man, I know how to be a bulldog. Like, it's worked.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep doing it.
Like, you had 20 minutes from when that happened to recover from it and still finish strong. And I think he turned into his own worst enemy. And that round messed him up. I think that if he could have came out of that and just been like, whatever, what goes around comes around. He pushed me to the outside, but at the same time, he didn't really push him to the outside. He was very nice about it. He's like, come over here, buddy. Like, why don't you just ride over here? Like, he was nice about it. He wasn't aggressive or anything. And it was, it really messed him up. But yet he can get T-boned by Barsha and be perfectly fine.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. I think there's a lot going on there. And it sounds like this where I wish, like, man, I wish I would have went into sports psychology to really just figure more out of this stuff out and get in there and like do something with these kind of guys, because it's crazy. Another thing with Kenny too that I've been hearing recently, I've heard it on too many shows. Oh, so it's like he's been doing, Kenny just always fades in the latter half.
Yeah.
It was last year. He did it last year, and then he was out with injuries. I went back and looked at his like previous seasons. We all know how crazy he was in outdoors. His Supercross seasons before that, there was no late season fade. He faded last year, and then he got his arms busted up more than anybody in the series for 2 years. He doesn't have a late season fade. Like, this is a whole nother thing.
Yeah. That's I've heard that quite a bit too. And I wonder how much of it is because this sport has such a short capacity for any type of history.
Oh yeah, recency bias for sure.
Yeah. So it's last year, I wonder how much it had to do with him having whatever illness he had and being overly cautious about like all the virus stuff, which I get it. I mean, that man's paychecks are literally dependent on his body, So, and I wonder if that really messed with him. And then the back-to-back races where nobody was really ready, but it really showed off who had fitness and recovery, So it's, I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. And his results even in Salt Lake weren't that bad. He had, like, what killed him was the 10th and the 7th. Granted, he wasn't keeping up with Tomac, but I don't know. When you think about it, it's not that bad. And that's another thing about this sport. Everybody's like, well, he didn't get first. And it's like, well, only one person can get first. That like doesn't mean that it wasn't close. It's not like just because he got third means he was like, a whole like 2, football fields behind the guy. It's like, I don't know. It's still, when you look at the numbers, I don't know, first and third aren't always ridiculously far away. So I don't know. I think something could happen, especially maybe if there's something to the late season fade. Kenny gets 3 weeks to go to the beach and chill, and work out in between. Maybe he comes back at ATL and is like, guess what, guys, I figured it out.
Yeah.
Go rocket.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. I definitely do want to see Kenny bring back his swagger, though. I think that was what really shielded him from the outside influences, was just putting on that, basically like the Conor McGregor of Supercross, and I think that his overconfidence let him have a confidence fade enough that it wasn't detrimental like it seems to be right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe if I were him, go throw on that sweet suit and go jump in, like call Honda and be like, hey man, I need an NSX so I can go, or like, I don't know, even go jump in his Audi and do a lap around the, yard before I go, go to the track every week, or before I jump on the press conference every time. Just be like, no, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's especially in a game that's extremely physical. I mean, you ride, or extremely mental, like you ride and I ride, and it's when you're halfway through a ride, if you're not constantly trying to maintain your focus, or if you start like, oh, there's no way, like me doing cross country, you're talking there's minutes gaps in between people, you know what I mean? So you're like, oh, I can't see anybody, I must be in last place, or oh, I got stuck or something like that, like my race is over, I quit. Like it's just those little seeds of like negativity that end up growing a whole forest. And time after time, it's those guys that aren't sitting there pruning that forest, or turning that negativity into something that they can really use, like, oh, I broke down last time, but I still got fifth, like that means that at least I pushed hard enough at the beginning, and I had some bad luck. It happens to everybody. I've yet to meet a racer that hasn't had a mechanical at least once in their life.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a big difference. I mean, it's the difference too between. I mean, it happens to all of them. Even just because there's the privateer guys or the guys on like Benny Bloth, man. A lot of people, I don't know. He's bit me in fantasy this year because he just pulls off sometimes. Like, no, man,
yeah.
you don't do that. I mean, it's a little bit different example, but it's the same kind of thing. Like, don't let the negativity grow. Like you just finished the race sometimes, and that's just a bigger thing of it. And it's guys like that, that are never going to come close to getting rides like bigger factory rides, because the guys like Roger DeCoster, he sees somebody did that, I don't know, 2 times ever. He's like, nope, because I know that problem is going to be way bigger. If they came up here on and rode this stuff, it's my bike. My team's not going to fix them. Like, it's in their head, and I don't mess with that.
Roger's like, I saw a video where you tipped over as a 50 and you stepped off the track and didn't want to ride it. You're not allowed to ride one of these KTMs.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can see him doing that. There's too many. I mean, that's the thing. There's too many guys out there now, and if that's the thing that can separate you is the ability to not quit, I'm gonna take the guy that can suffer all day long.
And that's, I mean, A-Ray is a prime example of that, man. He's that dude has the worst luck out of anybody I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
I mean, who lands on somebody else, loses his whole slip-on came off. The dude's absolutely got the worst luck ever, but he's still cheery attitude. He'll still talk smack with like Cade and Starling and like all those other guys, and they're just back there having fun, man, just showing up every week. They're just glad to be racing, and it's, I think, now there's a big difference between just trying to make the night show to racing for a championship. Like, I completely understand that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't, I think some of these guys, especially right now where we're most of the way through the season and it's closing in, and we just had a couple red plate changes, I think you definitely, you can't lose sight of why you do it. You know what I mean? So it's, I don't know. It'll be fun watching the next couple races and really seeing these guys kind of hopefully trim back some of that negativity and really go for it, because it's definitely coming into the, you're either gonna sink or swim, and nobody's gonna hold mechanicals against you. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's, if you sink, it's on you, unless there was like a bike problem. You know what I mean? And I get that stuff breaks all the time. I've been in this industry for a long time. I've seen some really weird shit happen on bikes,
Yeah, for sure.
So it's hard to say, man. I mean, I don't even know. I've never really been in those shoes where I'm racing in front of tens of thousands of people for millions of dollars, and it is literally all on you. I've never been in that spot. So
yeah, definitely not going to act like I've been in there, or stay close to that. But yeah, it's it's enough to kind of, at least it's interesting to think about, like what you were saying, you know, like maybe Kenny's just dealing with that doubt. You just that little bit of doubt that's just kind of getting him, and he's having a hard time overcoming it with anything. You know, like you said, out there doing the long races, that little bit gets in you, and who knows? But maybe these next 3 weeks off, 2 full weekends between now and Atlanta will help him, and then they'll come back to Atlanta. We're probably going to get at least one rain round. You know, somebody's going to be mentally tough to be able to like stick it out through one of those rounds, or you know, or
gonna be
somebody's just going to
Zacho.
get lucky 3 times in a row.
That's
Yeah,
gonna be
right.
the one time Zacho throws it on the podium as a mud race. He's like,
Yeah.
"Hold my goggles, boys. We're going off roading."
Yeah, give me my short little legs. I don't even need to put them down. I'm just going to go.
Right. Yeah, and Tomac will blow the clutches out of the side of the bike, but it's
Ooh, yeah.
it's
Yeah,
I that guy's tough on equipment, man. But he's fast. He's another one though. He gets that one little seed of doubt, and it's over. You know, it's
yeah.
and
This
that's
season's been interesting for him too. Like I really think. I mean, I know some people get it and some people don't, and like I could probably just be like stuck on this point too much, but I don't think, you know, maybe people jump on like the Kiefer wagon about like home life being good and, you know, like the daddy bump or whatever. But I think Tomac's got the daddy downside, man. I think year 0 to 1, he's losing a lot of sleep at home, man. I just keep thinking about these guys need to be on that training thing where their program needs to be 100% all the time. And for a guy like Tomac to be as fast as he can be, when like the fast we all know he can, those were the nights where he had everything go right that week. He got all the sleep he needed. He ate everything perfectly. Like there wasn't a mess up on his program. He didn't have anxiety about what was happening. Like everything went down and he went out there and pulled it off. This year it's, you know, if he's sleeping in a different room because the baby's like so loud, I don't know. Maybe that's messing it up because, you know, things aren't you just as perfect as they are at home. I really think that the daddy thing's probably not working out, you know, in his favor for being that 100% top level athlete. Obviously, he's still clearly in the top 90%.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's definitely not going to pull it off this year. But maybe between now and then he'll get that reset before outdoors, and we get to see magic.
I mean, he is an outdoor guy. That zero doubt. You know, it's I don't. Plus, you really have to think like, how big is the drive? He's got everything. He's literally just chasing individual records now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Daytona wins or overalls, or he's up there in all of them. He's just knocking guys off every time he puts it on the podium. But you kind of have to think, how much is that a driving force for somebody in the long run? You know what I mean? I mean, that's
especially if you're gonna, you know, if you're pushing it at that level, and the downside to pushing it that hard is you got a higher risk of losing it, you know, getting hurt. Maybe he's just riding a slightly bit more conservative too, because like you said, I've got my championship. I don't need to push to the 110% anymore. I can just ride it like 99, see how everything rolls, because I don't want to risk hurting myself in right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say. We have what, 5 rounds left? 4 rounds? 5?
Yeah.
You never really know which Tomac is going to show up, though. Is it going to be Lido Mac or is it going to be Eli Tomac?
Yeah.
Is he going to nail the start and just absolutely demolish everybody? It's also one thing that I have noticed this year, since we've been like talking on the Discords and stuff like that also, is he seems, if he gets a good start, the whole rest of the night's going to go good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Like that is just pressure off his mind. He's like, it's done, it's over with. And I could definitely see that coming from somebody that already has a stigma as not being a strong starter, where when he nails it, that's that extra like 0.1% confidence booster that he needs to show up as Eli Tomac. But when he gooses it, it takes him like a lap or two to kind of like shake it off, you know, when he should be trying to catch back up while everybody's together.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty reasonable thing. I don't even know if I've really thought about it that way, because I mean, you know how it is. You know, it's not even just like the heart rate spark from messing it up, but you're out there, you know, you're doing a lap in GNC, CC, you mess up one of the sections a little bit. It takes you a minute to kind of like get that out of your head and be like, nah, man, I know what I'm doing. Like, I know this lap, I've done it. Like, just because I did it wrong next time doesn't mean I have to do it wrong again next time.
Yeah. And it's just stuff that I've been picking up over like we'll be sitting there watching it live, talking back and forth and stuff like that. And we'll be like, oh, Tomac didn't get a good start. And then you don't see him starting to progress for like another lap or two. Whereas the previous year, he was getting good starts. I'm not a stats guy like you. I don't follow it. I just kind of go by how I feel. So it's
Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, like I feel like the majority of the races he was definitely coming out at least in the top 8. Where this year it seems like he's further back, and I think it's really messing with him. And I don't know if it's his training regimen or his home thing, or that he's proved himself to everybody already, or if it's just he's getting a bad start and it's staying in his head just a little bit too long. You know what I mean? And it's hard to say, but I feel like there is a correlation between his starts and how the next couple laps go. And the worst part is we can't track unless we physically go back and look at every race for the last 2 years. We can't track where he was because they don't count that first half lap. They don't it, so you don't really know. So it's, I mean, I don't know. That's me just throwing stuff out there,
Well, that's the crazy thing. It's not. I mean, I don't even know if it's throwing it really. I mean, it's pointing out all the he's just got. There's so many different things that I think are pretty dang reasonable arguments for why he's not doing well. One of them's got to be right.
Yeah,
and all of them are reasonable.
And it could be a combination of all of them. It doesn't have to be one of them every week. You know what I mean? It could be the baby was running a fever, so he or she, I can't remember which one, was crying most of the night. I didn't get a great night's sleep. It could be, oh, I got a bad start, but I've already had like a bad day, and now it's going to affect me for a lap and a half rather than just snapping out of it. It could be, well, I'm not 100% feeling it. I'm getting older. I've already won everything. I'm just going to go race. It's hard to say, and it's definitely interesting. This is something that we could probably talk about a lot, just going over and breaking all this stuff down. And I mean, I feel like we have talked about it a lot throughout the season so far.
Yeah. I think it's just going to come down to, stamp it. Let's remember what we talked about, and let's see how he finishes the season out, and then let's see what he looks like in outdoors, and then be like, okay, was any of it like close? Were we all crazy out there? We're not going to really know the answers, but like, hey, maybe just sucks outdoors, and we're all like, okay, well, we're all lost. He's just out there. He's just going to go hunting.
Last year, he didn't do phenomenal outdoors. He didn't do bad, but he did great indoors. I wonder if it was maybe just like a perfect storm last year where he cinched up the Supercross title, or I mean, it's hard to say. I'm not a sports psychologist either. I'm just a guy in a basement with a camera. You know what I mean? So it's definitely, it's hard to say, but I don't know. Before we wrap it up, do we have any other like crazy statistics that we can jump way too deep into?
Way too deep into.
Oh, I don't know. This last one, we went for like 10, 15 minutes about craziness.
Yeah. Well, just it's fun talking about what the things are for them. I mean, if we're talking about guys that we think should have done, Zacho, Marv.
Yeah, Zacho and Marv.
Performances, they weren't there. They got hurt, which, to jump back onto the perfect storm thing a little bit, I will say, we'll move on. I think Tomac's a championship winner is a championship. That's how championships work.
Yep.
But he had a perfect storm last year. Kenny had his just enough off nights, which granted you got to be on to win it. So that's a little bit out there. But Webb getting sick, getting really hurt, or not being there the second round, and then getting hurt in Arlington.
Yeah.
I think Webb handed it to Tomac, but yeah, so I think there was definitely some perfect storm there. But like I saying, perfect storm, that kind of puts us in the situation we're in, where now we're dealing with Tomac coming back, and we're dealing with Webb, Tomac, Roczen, Barsha, Webb, Tomac, Roczen, Barsha, Webb, Tomac, Roczen, Barsha, because Zach's not there, Adam's not there, Marv's not there, Chase keeps, busting his face.
Dude,
It's
you
crazy.
saw
These guys
his
are not there.
bars where
Oh
he
yeah, yeah. I
literally
still
ate the bars.
like. I mean, I know helmets move a little bit, but I keep thinking about it. And I'm just like hitting the helmet, it moving,
He had to
teeth.
have come
Just
down and back at the same time.
yeah. The
I wish
video
he
is
would
it's
have.
too hard to see exactly what happened, except for all you see is just head go. You know. Ugh.
He had to have broken a tooth. I mean, he punched
Oh
a
yeah, he said
hole
he.
in those bars.
Yeah, I think he said he lost a tooth, if not just completely broke at least one or two. Yeah, because it went through his lip too.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
as gruesome as it sounds, I wish he would have posted a picture, not just the hole in the bar, but like of his grill too. So
Oh
that
yeah, yeah. The picture I posted, I think he posted in his story after Daytona was just his face, like you couldn't see his
uh
teeth. Yeah, it was just huge lip stitches,
uh
black eyes. And the one he posted, I think he posted the actual picture after this most recent one on his Instagram of what his face looked like, and it's lips even bigger. But the Daytona one was just a story. I don't think he posted an actual picture, but both of them are just. I mean, how do you bust your face up twice in the two of the three races that you've raced in? Like,
he's he's pushing hard, man. He's got that butt up and the head down. He's getting that
yeah,
arrow going, you know?
yeah. James is just showing him like, just send it, man, send it. Like, we're gonna teach you how to be fast. You just gotta send it. He hadn't figured out the like keeping it on two wheels part.
Well, neither did James, but we
Yeah,
can get
yeah,
into that
yeah,
later.
yeah. Yeah, James like, well, if we can teach you to keep it on two wheels, then it'll be good. He hasn't figured it out. But even then,
Could
like
you
James, some nights he did the same thing as Tomac. He would get back
Yeah.
up and still just charge through it. He just couldn't hold first place.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you imagine in the future though if Chase picks up James's speed, but with the uh, technique that Chase has been showing? I think Chase and Roxon are probably, when they're both just riding in their zone, they might be the most flowy technical riders that make everything look easy.
mhm.
Like watching Chase at Loretta's last year and Ironman and Indianapolis and uh where else did I see him at? I can't remember. But it's seeing him there, that dude looks like he's been riding a 450 for like decades.
Oh yeah, watching him on the 450 outdoors last year was I did not. I was so far away from the Sexton bandwagon. I was not there. I was like, oh yes, he's got skill. I won't, but I wasn't excited about him. Watching him on the 450s outdoors last year was like, oh, okay, maybe,
It was
maybe I'm gonna go
primo,
check out
man.
that bandwagon. Like, he
Yeah.
was doing pretty. You don't just like jump on a 450 for the first time and then go do that good in outdoors and not have something.
Yeah. I mean, he, in my own recent history that I can think of just off the top of my head, that was probably the ultimate hold my beer, I'm going to switch bikes moment,
Hmm.
you know, like just because I think it's mostly you don't expect that kind of thing. Most guys, there's a huge gap in between 250s and 450s. There is, I mean, go ride a 250, get fast, and then jump on a 450. Like what are you gonna do? That
Yeah.
so it's but to see him just almost seamlessly. I mean, yeah, he's had a few crashes. He's had some stuff. Him and Sand don't get along, which is ironic considering he's been training in Florida.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
like just watching how he rides and handles the bike and all that. He can be super aggressive like Tomac when he needs to be and push the bike around, but he can be super finesse and just let it ride itself like Roxon. And just to watch that is like it, he's I don't know, he's the red ballerina, man.
Oh
It's
yeah.
insane.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it just could be that Alpine Star gear, but I mean, he clearly look. I mean, all these guys look fit. When you see him
Yeah.
out there, but just like seeing him in that Alpine Star gear, like looking real fit out there on that bike, and like watching him like really move a lot more than some of these guys in some of the baggier gear. Yeah, I mean, you can just see it. It's
Oh
awesome
yeah.
watching him ride that bike.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I 100% agree. I'm not on the Sexton bandwagon yet, but give it a year or two. Usually by the time I jump on somebody's bandwagon, they've been running 450s for like 3 or 4 years already,
Yeah.
so it's I definitely, and it's not because I don't even think I don't like any of the riders. I talk smack about a lot of them, but it's just because I think that a lot of them can do a lot better, and I've seen them do better. And so when they do string together a couple off nights, it makes me sad enough that I just want to talk a little shit to
Oh
feel
yeah.
better, you know. But I don't think, maybe Freeze. I'm not a huge fan of Freeze. So, but other than him, I can't say that I dislike any of the riders, and it's fun seeing some of the new personalities and stuff come out also, where you have guys like Kate Clayson, Alex Ray, Aaron Plessinger, even Ferrandis when he gets to talking smack,
Hmm.
which will be in a couple years. You have Cooper Webb, the silent assassin, you know, just guys like that, where I feel like the corporate stigma of the sport and suppressing personalities has finally popped to where we have accepted that we are kind of a niche sport. So let's do us. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, we haven't really brought in any outside sponsors. We might get like one or two a year and they never hang around. So let's celebrate our community and be a bunch of weirdos, and like, let's be like, who is it, Anderson, posting free ride videos for his Supercross training.
Yeah. Right.
Like, why not? It made MC the Supercross king. What's to say it can't still work? you
Yeah.
know it's free riding isn't easy.
Oh
So
no. No, especially not the way some of them do it. You know.
yeah, they're like, hey, here's a random switchback that's 120 feet tall, I'm gonna go jump it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You could be like
I'll
the Hill brothers and be like, oh yeah, my entire training is free riding, and we're still
Yeah,
going to be out there. Speaking of, um,
I heard one of them might be coming back.
Jo- oh, they're definitely going to be at ATL. Josh, right?
Yeah,
Justin's doing the sheriff gig, and Josh is the one going to be in
yeah,
ATL. I can never keep
yeah.
them straight, honestly.
So Josh still rides. And if you haven't had a second, when you get done with our show, jump over onto the YouTube and look up his X Games submission from last year. Real Moto. Josh Hill's Real Moto video is
Oh yeah,
actually
that was
really
sick.
fucking sweet.
Yeah,
So it's I'm excited about that. And ATL, is Sipes coming back for ATL?
that was on his schedule. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So
I'm
I'll be
pumped to see
excited
him out
about
there.
that. I'm a huge Sipes fan, the general, dude.
Yeah,
And I will argue about with anybody that he is the GOAT of two wheels. Like, dirt bike, two wheels, he's the GOAT, man. That dude can race anything he wants and be good at whatever it is, just as long as it's a dirt bike and has two wheels.
yeah. I think
Like,
even purely on like the merit of the activities themselves, you no one could reasonably argue too hard against that because who else is doing what he's doing?
some
And if
guys
they
do.
are doing it as good as he's doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if they're
Like,
going to those exact same events he's doing, they're not finishing the way he's finishing. They're not
yeah.
going out there and getting a busted up hand in a heat race from getting T-boned, finishing that, finishing the LCQ, and then still finishing the race. Just he didn't have to finish that race. There were guys that had to finish that race that didn't finish the race. He still finished the race.
Yeah. I mean, he's one tough dude, but it's to go from professional hill climb to professional flat track to he even did a freestyle motocross with
Hmm.
like Twitch in them, and then he'll go out and run an enduro, like, or a hard enduro, and then it's just insane.
Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to watch that. But I'm excited about Atlanta. I think I look forward to seeing how those races happen and talking about those because, like I said, I was looking at those track maps again and coming up and thinking about those. I just really don't believe that they're any more comparable to Daytona than any open air stadium. The dirt, unless they change up the dirt completely. If they're using the same type of dirt that they bring into the stadium there, unless it rains the whole time, I think we're going to run into the same scenario we run into at all the open air stadiums. There's one or two, like I think one of the track maps I was looking at, I think the third one, some of the rhythms are a little bit easier, like maybe some a little less picky. Of course, they always end up changing it, but yeah, the way those lanes work out, it's not like Daytona. Granted, this year's Daytona, there was a lot of jumps, there was some big rhythms, but ATL, man, rhythm, 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 rhythm. Like the whole section along the edge of the track, is just a nonstop rhythm. There's a little bit of kind of like soft S kinks in there, for some kind of turns. Granted, they're not 180s, but the way they switch back provides some opportunities for slow and kind of passing, maybe,
Yeah.
depending on how they build it out. It all depends on how they build it out, but I think it's really going to be a fitness thing. We had 1 minute, 10-second lap times at Daytona. I see these being at least that, if not more. And it's because, you think about it, I think all of them have at least two whoop sections where they're going, balls out, holding their breath through those. And then they're working these rhythm sections for as long as those lanes are with no turns to like kind of loosen up maybe a little bit. And they're having to nail all of those consistently. You get off by a tiny bit through each one of them. We saw it in Arlington 3 this past Saturday. There was that one rhythm section where if they didn't get that drive out of the corner or they messed up in the middle of that one, then there actually was an advantage. And when you've got a rhythm lane that long, there's going to be at least one spot where you can make up or lose time in there. And I don't know, I'm just really excited to see who can connect the dots on those long lanes.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be a fun race, man. That's well, apparently we have D voices. Sorry, man. But yeah, it is. It makes it super fun when I sing karaoke. I end up only being able to do like Johnny Cash or something like that. Maybe like David Allen Coe.
Play to your strengths.
Yeah, right. But it's and then we have this one here. Thinks Tomac could win. I can't disagree. I don't know if I'm ready to make a prediction yet. This is an off week, so I, I'll have to really study the track. I think Tomac might end up being a favorite though. So
Yeah, I'll have to see. I'm going to stand by what I said, that I think this is going to be so much more like a Supercross track that it's not going to have the Daytona advantage like he's had. But we'll have to see how that works out.
yeah, it's I looked at the track map earlier this week, and then I got jammed up with work, so I haven't 100% checked it out. I'm remembering bits and pieces of it, but I would probably have to say that if it is Supercrossy, you still have like Webb, Roxon might show up. Don't count out AP. That dude is you never really know if he's going to finish in 8th or lead the first couple laps,
Yeah.
So
they've all got well, this is a little skewed. I think they're all like mid to short starts, the way they're laid out. Yeah, the first two face the same way, and even the third one's probably a little bit longer of a start, but they've all got, one sand section. The third one might have some of the easier rhythms on it, but I think our hope for the passing opportunities are going to be some of the whoop sections, and then some of the sections where maybe they play off like kind of what they did in I hate to keep talking about it, but those lanes in Arlington 3 this past time were awesome, where they had so many options and then they could slow down and mess up. Like some of these are just have a lot of obstacles in one place that could maybe really provide multiple different ways to go through it over the time. And then, there's the weather thing, that dirt, the way they build it and water it and everything over the course of a week outside in Atlanta in April, it could just be all sorts of stuff, especially if it is a lot of clay type stuff and it gets a little too wet. Man, this is a little bit more slippery than your traditional mud.
Yeah, or it could go the exact opposite way and just be super hot and get dry and dusty and hard packed. And I mean, I doubt we'll ever see Blue Groove on a Supercross track anymore, but If it does, my pick
Just
is Sipes.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
It's
Especially on some of these wide, they got really wide 180 corners on
yeah,
out here. That being able to navigate your way around those could make up some time or provide some passing opportunities if you're behind a guy that can't ride those type of corners on that type of dirt.
yeah. The big 180s and good rhythm lanes, I think, are definitely going to create more passing opportunities, though. So that's I'm hoping. I just hope for a good race every week, man. I haven't put much stock into hoping for a good track, so I don't know. We'll see. It's I hope it's a track that will at least allow good passing and good racing. That's my hope. Every week, it's sometimes I get burned. You know, we were talking about it before. There might be two of the tracks this year out of 12 have really fit that kind of description. Um, and both of them I feel like had sand. So I don't know. We'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah, we'll see. It could be anything. I'm just excited to go. I want to be at ATL3 in person.
Nice.
Even if it's raining, I'm gonna be out there. I'm gonna have a poncho on, man. I'm gonna watch it. I haven't missed an ATL round in the past 5 or 6 years, and I'm I'm pumped to go back and see this one different in person. It's gonna be exciting to see 2 rounds of it on TV, and then get to go like kind of watch it again. It'd be a little bit different experience for sure. But
Did they make ponchos long enough for you?
yeah, I'm gonna have to wear my waterproof boots too.
Yeah. I was
It
gonna
won't
say,
cover
what's it?
my feet.
Yeah, does it like end above your knees? Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's more like a really long hoodie. It's not won't be that big. But see, well, I
no,
mean,
Dave,
well,
it's
go
not
ahead.
really a dig on Dirtworks. A lot of these guys, they they have them built out by the time outdoors even starts. Like they're already working on the tracks for next year, and then they just kind of fit them into whatever stadiums they can get contracts with. I think Dirtworks as a whole. Um, in fact, I've met the guy that actually started and ran Dirtworks all the way up until like 2016. Like as a whole, those dudes do great. Um, it's the evolution of tracks based on the evolution of tracks versus the evolution of bikes and riders. I just feel like the tracks are about a generation behind where bikes and riders are right now. Um, Dirtworks is doing the best with what they can, with what they have, and it's it's hard to say. I think they do good at maintaining the track and building the track and ensuring that the track is safe for everyone and tries to meet everybody's standards. But at the same time, I would like to see the the next generation of tracks to equal the next generation of bikes and riders. Like if you go back and look at the bar to bar series from 2006, 2007, 2008, we're still basically riding on the same exact tracks, but the bikes and riders have gone above and beyond what they were back then.
Yeah, I mean, even that you look at that Orlando track, it was a replica. Like, if you
I
didn't tell me
couldn't
it was a
tell.
replica, I would have been like, there's nothing about it. It would have been like, man, this feels like a 10-year-old track, I,
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
10-plus-year-old track. I would have never known. And in Dirtworks, they're they build the stuff that other people are designing. So like they do a good job at what they do. They've
Yeah.
they've all of them probably have ideas about what a cool track would look like, and I don't really know how much input they get on the actual track designing process. But for the most part, they do a good job at what they do, what they're told to do based on somebody else designing a track design. They know how to make somebody else's design work to the best that design can. It's
They're
definitely
like,
not on Dirtworks. I
yeah.
think the only time anybody could really rag on Dirtworks that nobody's still sure what happened was that Orlando one to Orlando. Was it Orlando? Yeah, Orlando one to Orlando two deal where the track just didn't change. If that was the rounds, well, those two rounds where it just didn't change because supposedly it rained too much, but then everybody else in Florida was like, no, it didn't rain that much. The track should have changed, but they just couldn't change the layout. I think it was that one.
So
Um,
the early 80s tracks, Dave, sorry. It's I was born in '88, so I haven't really seen a lot of the early '80s tracks. But if you're referring to like the old tracks, I'm not sure what era they came out of, with like the logs and the basically lakes in them and stuff like that. Uh, I love it. That's why I watch a lot of the enduro cross and stuff like that. So I think you might be asking the wrong fella that, because I would be like, yeah, let's go. I would love to see it, but unfortunately, I don't know if that would pass the mustard on most of today's fans. Um,
Yeah, I think that there definitely would be an issue with, like we've talked about, just visually appealing from what the tracks are used to. But I think from some of those older races, pictures I've seen, some video that I've seen, especially the early '80s, not a whole lot of a whole lot of good quality of both of those. But I think that's a bike issue. I think our Supercross bikes have now too stiff, too powerful for those tracks to work. I think they built those
yeah,
tracks because those bikes could just kind of do those types of obstacles, the lower jumps, the crazy stuff. And they worked good for the bikes, but that kind of goes back to the point of like we need to be kind of experimenting with what kind of different supercross tracks can we do with these bikes.
yeah. But I gotta start getting ready to get the kids to bed, man. So we're
Yeah.
gonna have to wrap it up pretty soon. I got the little ones, and they are not happy if they don't get to hang out and wrestle before bed. So
Oh, we can't
it's
have you ended up like Tomac, man. You gotta get your
right,
rest.
yeah. No, it's so probably same time next week.
Yeah.
We'll talk to Jesse, see what he's got going on. I know next week on what is it, the 9th, Jesse's gonna come on. We're gonna do a kind of how we feel about going into the weekend, especially after the break. We will be going over the next round, which happens on Saturday. I do not believe that we are doing any type of supercross or couch cross, but please do not forget, stop over to the Power to the Ground website. Get you some sweet merch. We have the Do It for Dale shirts. I absolutely love them. They are now the icon of my own Discord channel where we talk about everything moto. And it is also my Facebook profile. That is how much I like these shirts. So,
Yeah, man. I wore mine for couch cross, and I keep thinking about hopefully the next time I get to go out in public when I'm going to be able to wear that shirt so everyone can just look at me.
right? And then if you are following along with the show, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, please do not forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. This does actually go a long way with us. We are just a couple dudes that absolutely have a complete passion for the sport. I mean, I would probably say almost every day we talk about something in capacity with this and talk about trying to build this show up. So if you could please like, comment, share, and subscribe, it does go a very long way for us. And then what we have the BROTACO Hot Sauce, which is I still think it's one of my best. I'm gonna have to get a hot sauce holster, man, just so that I can carry this stuff around.
I need to get one of those to make it safer to carry out in the public for when I go back to restaurants.
Right? It's don't forget, stop over at brotacofoods.com, use code PTTG for 20% off. I highly recommend that you try it. I love it. I use it almost every day. And I'm not just saying that because Sean is a good friend and sponsor of the show. I'm saying that because I legitimately like it. Like this stuff is good.
I haven't
Uh
bought a different hot sauce in months.
yeah,
I've been using those over and over and over again.
I was a Tapatio guy, man. I put Tapatio on everything. And then Sean was like, try my stuff. And I'm like, all right. And sorry, Tapatio, you're getting old, man. You're hitting your expiration date. We got the Bro Taco moving in. So also, please go over to sunstar-braking.com. Hit up the rider support email, whether you are a racer or a casual rider. Shoot me over an email. Just include something PTTG. Tiller sent you. Doug sent you, Jesse sent you, you saw it on the show at some point in time, and I will do my best to hook you up. And yeah, that's really all I got, man. Do you got anything else to add, Tiller?
Man, I just want to say been absolutely awesome. And if anybody catches this between now and next Thursday, when I'm sure we'll be doing it again, and you got any stats you want dug up or anything, any questions you want us to talk about, shoot us a line, drop us a comment, let
We
us
have
know,
the
and I'll look something up.
we have the Discord channel now too.
Oh
It should
yes,
be up on the Facebook. If it is not, I will run up and check after I get my kids to bed, and we'll post it on there. So it's a good time. I mean, we talk about time in the garage, Supercross, motocross, GNCC, WESS, ISDE. Basically, if you can race it, we're interested. And we're going to talk about it.
oh yeah,
So it's a great time. So be sure to watch out for that link. If you have not been on a Discord server before, it is basically the next generation forum. I mean, I like it. I don't know. I haven't run into too many people that don't like the setup on the Discord. So it's and then we also stream Couch Cross there, which does have you can actually watch the race with us. We can stream it on Discord. So make sure that you be on the lookout for that stuff too. So other than that, man, let's I'll catch you in the Discord, I'm sure. But
absolutely, all of them.
yeah, let's call it a night before my kids come down here and start yelling at me, man.
Awesome, man. Great time.
All right. Peace, guys. Take
See you
care.
guys.